Okay guys, first thing I did is took all my measurements and drew all the pieces on this piece of melamine. And then I did the same with this live edge cedar slab that I had. Alright guys, so now as you can see, I've got the 2 pieces of red cedar. Put them in the mold, make sure everything fits. Nothing is assembled yet, just making sure everything fits. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape up the mold. Alright guys, so I got my pieces here. For taping up the mold, I'm just going to be using Tyvek. It's house wrap tape. I got it from Lowe's and it works really well as a release agent for the epoxy. Pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and do that to all the other pieces. Alright guys, so I've got the entire mold covered in the Tyvek tape. Now it is time to do some caulking. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some caulk and run it along the edge right here, stick it on the mold where it belongs, clamp it, and then screw it together. The goal here is to make it remotely impossible for the epoxy to leak out because the stuff it's like water. If there is an accessible place for it to leak, it is most definitely going to find it. All right, everybody, I caulked up that edge right there. I'm gonna go ahead and stick it on the mold and I'm gonna clamp it. All right guys, so like I said, the only reason I did this is so that I could screw it in place. All right guys, so I went ahead and assembled the mold. I have caulking in between the boards on the inside corners, running along the corners here where they meet, and on the outside. This thing should be sealed pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and set my pieces of red cedar inside the mold. Alright guys, so what I've done here, see that little hexagon right there? I put that under the clamp because my clamps won't reach the piece of cedar that I've got in the mold. So I'm gonna do that on the other corners as well, but before I do that, I'm gonna wrap these little pieces of wood in the Tyvek tape so that the epoxy doesn't stick to them and I'll be able to get it off easily. Alright guys, so this is pretty much how we're looking now. I've got my little pieces there under the clamps and we are ready for the fun part. You don't always have to put clamps, but I do it because the boards that I'm using are pretty lightweight and I really don't want them floating around. Try to minimize the amount of epoxy that creeps up under the boards. Okay guys, so now that we're moving on to the exciting part of this project, I wanted to let you know that I'm using Yeti Labs epoxy. This model that they make is called the Deep. This stuff is designed specifically for doing deep pours, such as what I'm doing now, a cutting board, or even a large river table. This stuff works really well. I'm not real big on showing off unfinished projects, but I'll go ahead and show you just to prove my point. This is a epoxy and cedar table I'm working on. It was actually the first time I ever did any kind of job like this with epoxy. So this stuff is extremely beginner friendly. I'll leave a link down in the description so you can go ahead and grab you a kit. You will not be disappointed. This stuff's real easy to use. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm gonna pour up 48 ounces of epoxy and 16 ounces of hardener. All right, guys, so I got my blue in there. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in some silver. I don't know what's gonna happen, but there's only one way to learn in life. All right, looks pretty cool, guys. So I think I'm gonna wait a few minutes, and if there's any bubbles down towards the bottom of the epoxy, I'm gonna give it time to come up so I can go ahead and hit them with the torch, and then I'll fill up the rest of the river to where it meets flush with the 2 pieces of cedar. All right, guys, so now that the 5 minutes of fun of this project is done, everything else is just work. But you know what, that's okay. I'm gonna take this small paintbrush I have and put some swirls in there. This is one thing I love about this brand of epoxy. These swirls pretty much show up effortless. Another thing I'd like to add in is that pretty much any epoxy is gonna have bubbles, but this kind, it really won't have very much at all. Like I said earlier, this stuff was designed by a river table artist. It's made specifically in every aspect for doing casting pours just like this. I feel like now's a good time to say, if you enjoyed my video so far, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. I do all kinds of woodcraft videos, so if you'd like to see them, go ahead and hit the button for me, I'd appreciate it. So now I'm gonna wait about 3 days, and we're gonna check this thing out, pop it out of the mold and plane it, etc., etc. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is now Sunday. We poured Wednesday. It's been 4 days. This thing is rock solid. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it out of here, and we'll take a look. Okay, guys, for the most part, everything looks good. I could have added a little more epoxy there to come up higher, but it's okay. I mean, the planer will level it all out. The bottom looks like. You can see my little lifts here for the clamps came off really easily. So now it's time to start planing. Okay, guys, you can see that it's all planed, everything's flat. It's starting to come along now. All we gotta do is sand it a lot, clean up the edges. There's epoxy on the edges, and then put some finish on it. Okay, guys, I just wanted to give a quick update. I went ahead and hit the edges with the table saw. As you can see, that epoxy is no longer on the edges, and all I need to do now is sand this thing. I'll probably start with a low grit and then work my way up and then wet sand it. That helps with a really smooth, fine finish. But unfortunately for me, I can't do that today because it's raining. I don't sand in my shop inside because I have 3 laser cutters and they all 3 have water systems, and I can't get particles in the water systems because that can ruin my CO2 tubes, and I don't want that. So maybe this afternoon the rain will stop and I'll get out and sand it. If not, I will be back with you tomorrow. So for sanding this project, I started with a low grit. I went from about 80 to 120 to 320 and then to 500. When I was sanding with the 500 grit, I added water to the surface of the board. It really helps with getting out scratches and just giving a really fine, smooth finish to the board. Okay, guys, finally this project is pretty much done for the most part. I don't know if there's any kind of transparency towards the epoxy. Oh yeah, looks like it a little bit. It's pretty cool. So now, only thing left to do is to finish it off. For that, I'm gonna be using Odie's oil. This stuff works really well. It gives the wood and the epoxy a nice pop, and most importantly, it's safe for food contact. This stuff's pretty pricey. It's like 60 bucks for this little 9-ounce jar. So please know that there are many other methods of finishing these things off. For some reason, this stuff smells like lemons. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of rub it all over the board, let the oil sit on the board for about 15-20 minutes, and then come back with a rag and kind of buff it off. Alright guys, it's now been about 25 minutes, and I'm just going to take this rag and just start buffing off the oil. And now we are totally done with this project. I'd like to give a special thanks to Pour Me a River. I'm always very satisfied with their products. Also a big thank you to my Instagram followers. Last week I hit 6,000 followers, and that really means a lot to me. If you enjoyed my video and you want to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for me. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, later guys.